Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. South Africa faces more power cuts. Eskom has warned as it ought to prevent the collapse of its power grid. The power utility implemented a fifth day of controlled power cuts, and today putting most strain on the economy already mired in a recession only months before a national election. Eskom, which is battling a severe financial crisis, coal shortages and breakdowns of its power plants, said it would cut up to 2,000 megawatts of power from the grid today. For more on this, we are joined by Eskom's spokesperson, Khulu Phasiwe. Thank you very much for coming to our studio.
Thank you.
What the nation had expected that, the L word, load shedding, would be something of the past by now. And all of a sudden, it's happening now. What's been happening at Eskom?
Well, I think I should start off by apologizing to South Africa. South Africa shouldn't be expecting or having load shedding as we are doing now. We are creating problems not only for the economy, but also for everyone. There are some people who are depending on the availability of electricity for their livelihood, and others, in terms of them being alive, they are depending on electricity. We shouldn't be having this problem. But yes, we have had a lot of problems at our power stations. Over the last, say, several months, Eskom had decided to not do maintenance on some of our units because of the financial troubles that we are sinking in at the moment. And we also have seen, I would say, a lot of breakdowns over the last few weeks, which are resulting in the difficulties that we are seeing at the moment. And lo and behold, we also now are beginning to experience problems with diesel supply in the Western Cape, but that one is a matter that hopefully SAPIA, the petroleum industry, will deal with. But currently, we do have enough diesel to carry us through, but the projections are that we might head into difficulties as we go on into a few weeks to come. But I'm sure by the beginning of the new year, we should be in a better position than we are at the moment.
Was the coal supply issue not resolved last year before the festive season? I remember speaking to you, and it was something that we discussed, that Eskom was attending to this and all power stations would get power supply. And where there was shortage, you would take from other stations and supply the others.
So that plan has been active and is still ongoing at the moment. The biggest challenge that we are seeing is that we are not getting, I would say, the main or the anchor suppliers. Anchor supplier would be someone who can give you, say, more than 5 million tons per annum, or even more than that. Remember, the genesis of these problems, among others, was when Tegeta, one of our suppliers, started to default. They had a contract with Eskom to supply us with over 5 million tons per annum. Once they started to default in terms of their supply, clearly it meant that Eskom had to find this 5 million tons somewhere. And what we did was to take coal from the other power stations to the 3 that were contracted to Tegeta. And unfortunately, because of the burn rate and also the fact that we were not getting enough coal anyway from the other suppliers, we were essentially depleting the resources that we had, which resulted in this situation now where we not only have those 3 power stations, but 7 additional ones. So in total, 10 power stations are having low coal supply, and therefore it's going to be a challenge for us, especially if we're going to have the summer rains in Mpumalanga.
So the maintenance of power stations, how was Eskom managing that process, given that you had financial constraints at the time? But the issue of maintenance and deciding that you're not going to maintain them is creating one problem on top of the other, because the implications are that if a station is not maintained, there's going to be load shedding. So the entire board, together with management, didn't you see it coming?
Well, they saw it coming, which is why the plan was put in place to make sure that we mitigate. But unfortunately, because of the tight financial constraints that Eskom is dealing with, management and the board took a decision that we would rather scale down instead of completely stopping, but scale down in terms of doing maintenance so that we continue to generate electricity and keep the lights on. But just like your car, if you don't do a regular service, then clearly at some point it will fail you. And those breakdowns that we are seeing now are a direct result of us not doing the statutory maintenance that we are supposed to have done.
The load shedding now is baffling. Can you explain to us how different is this load shedding from the ones that we've had before? There was a time when Eskom was saying that there was load shedding because the coals were wet and at times the quality of the coal that was supplied was of inferior quality.
Well, yes, in 2008, we did not have enough coal. The coal that we had there was wet because of the heavy rains that we saw in Mpumalanga, which is also what I'm saying to say that the projections that we are getting from the Weather Bureau is that there's going to be heavy rains in Mpumalanga this coming weekend. If that happens, then there will be problems. So in other words, Eskom will not only have problems with the quality of maintenance that is happening at our power stations, but you will also have problems with coal. So the current episodes of load shedding that is happening is not directly related to coal, but it's about the maintenance that should have been carried out at our power stations. And not only that should have been carried out, but also the maintenance that is happening now. There is some information that management has received to say that there's worrisome reports about maintenance being done, but units coming on stream today and then tomorrow is off again. Clearly, it talks about the quality of maintenance that is happening. And all of these factors are resulting in these difficulties that we are dealing with now.
So now, how is Eskom going to deal with efficiency and consistency in terms of sustaining the supply of electricity now that we're getting into grid time, the festive season, where many businesses expect that they are going to be operational, during extended hours, given the festive season that is going to be hectic and demand is going to be very high?
Well, generally, from the week of the 16th of December to the second week of January, the demand actually goes down because the many industrial customers, including the mines and heavy electricity users, they shut down for the holiday period, and therefore that will buy us enough space for us to do all the maintenance that we need to do, at least the bulk of it, do the maintenance, and also replenish our diesel and water resources, so that when we open in the second week of January, we stand a better chance of mitigating against load shedding than we are at the moment. But there's no guarantee, though, that there will not be load shedding during the holiday seasons. But based on what we know that has happened over the last few years, generally during that time, the demand of electricity is low, and therefore we might stand a chance of going through it without having load shedding.
Right. So going forward, given that load shedding has been rotational, what is the message to the households that have been intermittently inconvenienced by these load sheddings that have been happening throughout the days, especially the past 7 days?
Well, first of all, the responsibility of keeping the lights on primarily is with Eskom. Eskom has to make sure that our power stations are operating optimally, but municipalities also need to take responsibility. For example, 60% of electricity in South Africa, to households at least, is supplied by municipalities, and therefore, when we have load shedding as we do today, municipalities have to take the responsibility of informing their customers about the problem that they are facing, and also to publish these lists on their websites or other platforms so that people can know what is going on. And unfortunately, some municipalities don't even have websites, and therefore it becomes a problem. Everyone thinks that they have to come to Eskom, and where we are able to explain certain things, we do so, but it is the function and responsibility of municipalities to tell their own customers as much as it is our own responsibility to inform our own customers, which predominantly are municipalities.
All right. Khulu Phasiwe, Eskom spokesperson, thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you.
All right.